Welcome to another episode of Valdestott's Voice, at home edition. And I'm your host, Valdestott. And no, I am not self-quarantining at home. I'm just making a video at home on a rare occasion. Normally I do it when I'm out and about, but I don't go out until 3 p.m. Today on a Doordash and possibly GrubHub shift. So today's topic I was thinking about is I was actually going to think about making a topic on Memorial Day holiday, but that's boring. For the newer people out there, you know, this is mainly my thoughts on orders because I've run into quite a few new Dashers and Grubhubbers out there, and one actually works at Buffalo Wild Wings in my area, and he just started 6 days ago, and I was trying to give him some tips. So, every market is going to vary, but the tips all kind of are general and the same. But for me, in my market, as I always keep saying, I have to drive a lot of miles because I don't have miles and miles of suburbs like a lot of the major cities and bigger areas do. My downtown area is only about 3 miles long and wide in a bowl, and anything outside of that is a lot of rural areas or just far out off distances to get to the other areas that I'm unwilling to drive. So to keep my miles down, these are my tips and tricks. Okay, first of all, the number one thing is know your worth. The number one rookie mistake that a lot of new drivers make, to be honest, is they just don't know any better. It's inexperience. It's not through any fault of their own. They usually come from a W-2 background, and they think that they just have to take every order. But most people don't realize is when they start out that they are independent contractors. And as an independent contractor, you have certain rights and certain freedoms. And you already know what those are: the ability to work when you want, and the ability to not accept orders. But a lot of people don't realize the not accepting the orders or rejecting orders part, because when they see an order come up, they just instantly auto accept it without thinking about it. It took me 3 months to realize this. In order for me to realize it, I got fed up and quit the DoorDash platform for the first 3 months in 2018. I started December 2018. And I quit DoorDash in March of 2019 because I drove close to 9,000 miles in 3 months, just not accepting every order, taking every ridiculous offer that came into my app. I took $8 and drove a round trip for 25 miles, and I would slap myself silly if I was, if future me could go back to past me. But it's just inexperience, folks. It really is. So know your worth, okay? Secondly, your car is your most major expense. I know most people think that the money is, oh, hey, I'm willing to take $20, $30 orders. In my market, I very seldomly get those, to be honest with you. But a lot of other people in higher volume markets or higher cost of living markets get those $20, $30 orders, but they might have to drive 20 to 30 miles to get it. At $1 a mile, it may be worth it, but are you factoring in round trip to get back to where you want to be? Because that's a lot of potentially dead miles back to your home base area where you would normally get pings from, unless you're in a big enough area market where you might get good orders 20 to 30 miles away at the boundaries of the region. But in my case, I don't like to leave my 3 to 4 mile bubble. I just don't. It's just not worth it because it's just racking on miles for my car. My car has 146,000 miles right now, and I started off doing gig work at 98,000 back in December of 2018. It adds up, folks. It really does. So remember, you will eventually have to replace your car if you keep doing these types of long distance orders, and I've come to the realization that I'm not going to do it no more. So my situation is different. Everyone's situation is different. So keep that in mind, that your car is your most major expense, wear and tear and gas. So the dollar a mile per rule is the bare minimum, in my opinion, and I think most people's opinion. But at the same time, you may have to lower those expectations during holiday weekends like Memorial Day weekend and all the other holiday weekends that a lot of volume could be lowered if you just want to pay the bills. I'm in that boat right now where I still am sticking to my guns. I have savings. A lot of you may not. So I have a perspective that most people can't maybe have. You guys may have to make these trips to get money to pay your bills. So, it's understandable. I'm not chastising anyone. I'm just giving you some tips and tricks. Tips and tricks, folks. Sorry, tongue tied. So, lastly, folks, okay, I've seen on chat boards and whatnot that, low tip, low offer payouts, right? I reject those wholeheartedly. I think it's an insult. I think that if a customer is willing to shell out $3 to $5 just for the delivery fee and is willing to pay an exorbitant price, 20 to 30% higher price on the menu items, they can afford to tip the driver, or else they can just get it themselves. I saw on a comment just now that there was a 0.01, which is a 1 cent tip, folks, given to the driver. To be honest, that is unacceptable. That is either an insult or a mistake, and I'm not willing to chance driving wherever for a mistake. Even if it's a potential for a cash tip, it's just not worth the risk, folks. It really isn't. Again, know your worth. Don't let these, hate to say it, assholish customers get the better of you by leaving less than a $2 tip, because you have expenses. Unlike getting a W-2 minimum wage at a pizza joint or a restaurant, the only wage you're getting is the bare minimum $2 to $3 base pay on Doordash, or a $2 to $4 base pay on GrubHub. And don't get me started on Ubereats, you have no idea how much you're making, because they won't tell you that. They give you just the bare minimum amount, but they don't show the tips. So, there you go right there. So you are taking chances, depending on the platform, of letting customers dictate how much you make. So if an offer, for instance with DoorDash, if there is a peak pay of any amount, this is how DoorDash's system works, folks. On any order, at least in my market, okay, now this is my market, but you can use a rule of thumb based on just looking over your earnings. In my market, on a solo non-stacked order, if it's a single order, I get $3 base pay. End of story. Any order, regardless of distance, $3 base pay. If it's a stacked order, the second or third or any successive orders after the first order, it will always be $1 less. So in my case, $2. And then if there's any peak pay, you add that on there. So let's say, for example, I get an $8 order with no peak pay. I know that they're instantly giving me a $5 tip. And as long as the mileage is less than, I'd say, 5 miles, I'll take that order, no problem. Now, you're thinking, why 5 miles? I always factor in round trip, because in my market, unlike some of your markets, I have to drive back to my ping hotspots, not DoorDash's hotspots, but the restaurants that I know will give me orders. So if I have to drive 4 miles away, I have to drive 4 miles back, especially if it takes me out of the DoorDash zone. Because my downtown is adjacent to another zone. So pretty much, if I take a 4 mile, one-way trip, I got to drive 4 miles back. So that's 8 miles. So in my case, I have to factor in round trip mileage into the actual pay amount. So in order for me to break even, $8 in that situation would at least make me break even at $1 a mile. So here's the trick. What happens if there's a peak pay attached to it? Well, I tend to punish customers, okay? I do not take any customers' tips less than $2. Even if it's 2 miles away. It teaches the customers a lesson, and it basically educates them into knowing that the more you tip, the faster your delivery will be taken and accepted and will be delivered to you. And it's just the right thing to do. I mean, realistically, tipping is part of this country's, mindset. In European countries, tipping is not accepted, or is not wanted. It's not part of their culture. But in America, it is. So for a person to not tip, it's not worth doing. So for instance, let's say the amount on Doordash, let's say that there is a $2 peak pay attached at lunchtime. So there's a $3 base pay, $2 peak pay in effect, that's $5. If I see anything less than $7 to $8, I reject flat out based on that principle. I know my worth. I have expenses on my car. I got to pay for my own gas. I got mileage. I got oil changes and maintenance. That is just my opinion, though. Everyone's opinion is different. Tweak these tips according to your need. Don't let any other YouTuber tell you otherwise. You are the only one that knows your situation. You are the only one that is in your individual markets. Don't take my suggestions as the gospel. Take it kind of as a guideline. Okay? I want everyone to know that I'm in this just like you, trying to pay bills just like you. I'm an older driver. I'm not a younger driver, so my situation is different, as I said before. So, do what you think is best, but if you at least follow the general guidelines, hopefully, hate to say it to the newer dashers, unfortunately, the more experienced dashers and GrubHubbers out there are going to cherry pick a lot more because we're more experienced, and you guys are going to be left with scraps, taking lower offers unless you get an initial better offer right off the bat. But if you start seeing a slew onslaught of really bad offers, it's because all the better offers have been taken and they're rejecting all the lower offers. So don't feel bad. It's just the way the system works. Don't let these apps abuse you and use you. My motto is don't let the apps use you. Use them. Don't let them use you. Use them. That's my motto. So I know this is running on about a 14 minute video time. I just figured you guys should know, whether you're experienced or if you're new, this is mainly aimed towards the newer viewers, that you really need to know your worth. Stay safe out there, folks. I know that a lot of areas are starting to come back to normal, but the virus is starting to show a upward trajectory of infections. But I guess the country right now is valuing, livelihood over lives. That's pretty much it, because everyone needs to make a living and everyone needs to take a chance out there. But using that philosophy, infection rates are going to go up. So be careful out there, stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.